Right now, the transfer portal opened yesterday on Monday. Today is Tuesday, March 25th. We are just past the round of 32 in March. The NIT, I believe, is going on right now as well. And is that correct? Yeah, and the Crown is a little bit further out in the future. What is it, April 4th or 9th? Or
Yeah,
maybe
we're still. I think we're exactly a week away.
Okay, so we're in exactly a week away from that. So we got all of these things going on, and the transfer portal has just now opened. Is this bad for college basketball?
I think the transfer portal being open so early is terrible for college basketball. I think it 100% should be moved at the very earliest, the end of the season. It gives teams more time to navigate what their team will look like for the next season, while not actively playing games. The current system is just kind of dumb in general, because I'm personally a UCF student and a fan of UCF basketball. We have 5 players in the transfer portal currently after the less than 36 hours of the transfer portal being open, and we still have to play in the college basketball crown, which if college basketball in general wants to incorporate more postseason tournaments and give more people a shot at having life in the postseason, you can't have the transfer portal open like this early, because then the college basketball crown hasn't even started. The NIT is still going on. March Madness is actively happening. And we have a UCF team that was supposed to be one of the better teams in that college basketball crown has 5 of their players in the transfer portal. And I think they're going to be allowed to play, but still, it just doesn't bode well for the level of competition. It's just dumb in general. And then also for the teams that are competing in March Madness, like the tournament that actually matters, the coaches aren't worried about recruiting. They're worried about winning a national championship. So the fact that the transfer portal is opening and some of those elite programs, or maybe even Cinderellas in some years, are missing out on the fact that the transfer portal is opening and people are going places and they can't do their best job to recruit, I just think is a little dumb. And it should be at least when the season opens. And football has a similar issue where the transfer portal opens a little bit early, but it's less teams. Like the fact that there's so many teams still competing in a postseason tournament and the transfer portal is actively opening is just so dumb in my opinion. I've already mentioned this twice, but the UCF has 5 players in the transfer portal in less than 36 hours, and they still have a game, if not multiple games, left to play in the season. I just don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, so this is actually an issue to some of those mid-major programs, and then also at the same time to some of the teams that we picked out as being a dark horse that maybe didn't go so far, but they're still there. They're still in the Sweet 16, and they can't get any sort of transfers. So this is an issue for anybody who's performing at just their level, or a team that potentially could get bounced literally in 2 days, and now they are way behind the schedule. But this actually was moved from last year. Last year it started March 18th, the day after Selection Sunday. So it has already been moved 1 week later this year, March 24th. The idea is that 75% of NCAA teams will have already been eliminated from either, March Madness or prior to, the bracket being released and all that sort of stuff. So they've already moved it one time. I think they're going to have to continue to do it. I don't know the specifics for the education, right? But as I mentioned when we talked about the NIL, I'm not exactly very concerned with the education of these athletes just as is right now. I mean, because this is huge for their future. This is right now. A lot of these scholarships are guaranteed. I just saw an NCAA ad that said all these scholarships are guaranteed. So we'll fix that later. But I don't know what it has to do with the education calendar as far as when you got to hop in the portal, then when you got to declare, when you got to commit and all that sort of stuff. But the deadline to hop in the portal is April 22nd. So you get those 30 days or so to hop in and officially declare yourself as a transfer. I don't think you actually have to commit until later on or whenever you feel like it, essentially. There's probably another sort of window that goes in, but last year that window was 45 days. This year is 30 days. So it sticks around the same exact deadline. But, there's probably some issues with that too for some of the players, but I get it. I'm thinking they should move it back. Just continue to move it back just so once after the season is over. And then I also think the Crowns, that's going to have to come back too, though. That can't be so far out in April to start. Or I don't know when it would plan on ending.
Yeah, it's not going to go for very long. I don't know the exact dates of the Crown, but yeah, no, I'm completely on the same page. Yeah, I just don't see how it makes any sense to have it this early on. And I mean, props them for already moving it back, but it just continues to affect teams that Sweet 16 teams aren't actively, or they could be actively recruiting, and they have other resources to do so. But it just makes it so much harder when your head coach is like trying to scheme up a game plan for a Sweet 16 game, and then one of the best players in the country is in the transfer portal. So
how many players do you think are rooting against their teams right now? Like at the very end of the benches on those big teams?
Probably way too many.
Yeah.
Maybe rooting for a team that they're going to be going to. So I just think that's an interesting little tidbit about that as well.